And in March of 1999, it was WrestleMania 15, the Raging Climax, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And you, in fact, were there live. Your facial expression is telling us all we need to know. You were there live at WrestleMania 15. It's a weird show. It's almost booked like a Raw. And we were kind of talking before we came on air about how weird it is. Why is WrestleMania 15 such a strange one? And talk about the live experience of it.
I mean, the live experience just felt really subdued. I mean, as I recall, the only match that really fired up the crowd was Austin versus The Rock. The reason that on the night it went over so big, at least with me, was that everything else on the show was just so poorly received by me. Everything else just fell so short of expectations. And the undercard really is one of the worst that WWF/WWE ever put on at WrestleMania, in my opinion. The fact that I'd made the journey all the way to Philadelphia for it, and the show was so not even mediocre, just a poor show, only amplified my disappointment and my questions as to why did we choose this year to come? Why did we come last year, or why did we go next year, or leave it till 2001 or whatever? So yeah, it's a strange show, just a really poorly booked undercard. And you would think that at least one of those matches on the undercard would have sizzled, and none of them did. I mean, that's what mystifies me to this day, because even then, WrestleMania was seen as the biggest show of the year. I know it's grown in proportions now and become this sort of almost like this sort of the Super Bowl of WWE, where it's the night or nights as it is this year, on which everyone goes out and strives to have their best performance ever. I mean, I think it was still seen as the show of the year and the night when you wanted to put your best foot forward, and so few people did that evening.
Do you think part of it's because WWF had been so successful with the sort of formula of Raw and the formula of how those shows go, that by from WrestleMania 14, when really they were putting together, we need to do the best show we've ever done, we need to do this big stuff, but by 99 it was just like, well, here's the formula, what people love every week, let's give them that on a WrestleMania. I'm not saying it worked, but like, is that maybe you think what the idea was? Because there's a lot of weird stuff on the show. Shawn Michaels shows up at the main event dressed like he's in Miami Vice. Austin's forgot his vest. Big Show gets arrested. D'Lo and Test win a battle royal together, and then the heel and the babyface combo have to face Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart. We've got the double turn with Triple H and Kane. I mean, there's a lot that Big Show gets hung, or Big Boss Man, gets hung.
Yeah.
It just feels like did Vince Russo just eat a big bag of Smarties, the big can of Coke, and go, I'm going to book WrestleMania? And that's like what we got?
Yeah, I mean, it was like the sugar rush. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe it was like, E numbers were responsible for this. Too many Skittles or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that Hell in a Cell match, I remember being there, and, when Edge and Christian descended from the ceiling and then they hung the Big Boss Man, and no one believed it. I mean, it did actually look quite convincing, but obviously they attached the noose or whatever it was to a hook at the back of he was wearing some type of harness from which they attached him, and then he was hung. And you're just like, why would you do that? I mean, the match died. The match killed the crowd. There was no reason for them to kill the Big Boss Man as well. But I mean, it's just the Hell in a Cell match, I think, was probably the biggest disappointment of the night, because standards and expectations of those type of matches was so high. And it almost felt like that had been crowbarred in. And it was like, right, we've got this match that no one really cares about. What are we going to do to magnify interest in it? I know, let's book them in a Hell in a Cell match. And it just felt so needless and unnecessary. And it was like, well, the gimmick's there to offset the shortcomings of this match. And it didn't do that. It completely failed. It failed to do that in terms of match quality. It didn't up the match quality. In fact, it probably reduced the match quality. And we all had a certain expectation of what a Hell in a Cell match would deliver, and it failed so utterly. So I remember that just being and also it was like a really bad night for The Undertaker. I think he was really in a lot of pain at that point, wasn't he, Kenny?
Yeah, I think he was starting to really kind of have a lot of knee issues, which later on he'd have to kind of take time off. Because then it was not long after this where he started putting on the weight, where he got the gut.